What do you think?
He's the best. He was a genius.
I'm so flattered.
Someone is always watching.
Hi, I'm Eric Singer.
Eric is still spending his days being a dialect coach for film and television.
And I'm back, now with more beard. So today we're going to talk about more accent performances in movies, and especially how much it can contribute to the overall telling of the story.
Pacific Northwest accent.
Tonya Harding, Margot Robbie, I, Tonya.
I mean, come on. How am I the poor sport in all of this?
Margot Robbie is really a fantastic accent performer.
What, do you like me?
She captures something really, really great about Tonya Harding's actual voice here.
You pulled it off so beautifully.
Oh, thank you. I knew I was gonna do it.
There's not a lot that's really distinctive about Pacific Northwest accents.
I know.
One thing we do find there is a caught merger, where the vowel sounds in C-O-T and C-A-U-G-H-T sound the same.
Can I talk to you for a second? Talk to you for a second?
They're distinct in my accent and a lot of other American accents, caught and caught.
I don't give a shit.
But we can hear those vowel sounds in caught and caught words sounding the same here.
I'm sorry, it's not talking back. Talking back.
And here.
Guy, you don't like the way I dress or talk. Guy, talk.
Another thing I find really impressive vocally about this performance is the way the voice changes as the character gets older.
You do dumb things when you're young.
Your vocal folds get stiffer as you age. One of the things that does is lower the fundamental pitch and timbre.
Everything went to shit.
Here's Tonya at 16.
We had plenty of money before. I have a fur coat.
Here she is at 22.
My skating career is over, and I have no savings.
And here she is at 45.
I never apologized for growing up poor or being a redneck, which is what I am.
Chilean accent.
Giancarlo Esposito, Better Call Saul.
Hello, and welcome to the Los Pollos Hermanos family. My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Gus.
The character is from Chile originally, but he moved to Mexico as a young man.
Mexico?
And I'm gonna guess that's where he learned English.
I apologize for being so transparent.
Because his English is actually more Mexican accented here than it is Chilean accented.
Correct.
Listen to the word customer.
We serve our customers.
A Chilean accent would be more likely to have that as a very open a vowel, customer, whereas he goes with a much more typically Mexican version of that in English, which is a rounded o, customer.
Customer service.
And I think that's entirely appropriate and is a really fine detail for the character.
Well, perhaps in the future, you will consider working for me.
Okay, indulge me. Take your hand, put it right in front of your lips, and say the word take.
That will not be necessary.
Take. Did you feel a little puff of air?
No.
That's because we aspirate that sound. A lot of other languages don't do that. Spanish doesn't do it.
And?
So usually when you get a Spanish speaker speaking English, they'll say, take. He's doing that here.
We take pride in everything that we do.
Elsewhere in the clip, he has a little bit of aspiration, and of course the character ends up mastering that feature of American English.
Please, I'm happy to do it.
Which again, I think is so cool, because it's like he's working on it here. It's just not all the way in place.
Someone is always watching.
Russian accent.
Jennifer Lawrence, Red Sparrow.
All I ever wanted was to be a dancer. Ever since I was a small child.
There's something that doesn't fully cohere here. The logic of the accent is missing.
It was never my intention.
I want to focus on the oral posture because I think Jennifer Lawrence's own oral posture, we can hear that through this.
I've never done a foreign accent before, so that was a first for me.
He told me about what happened at the park after I established trust.
The back of her tongue is very loose and soft.
Why are we going to become friends?
And the front of her tongue is a little bunched and kind of doing the work.
He told me about what happened at the park.
I think if she'd flipped that equation so that the back of the tongue was bunched and stiff and sort of anchored.
Take your time.
And the front of the tongue spread out a little bit like that and took over some of the movement.
Can I have a drink?
I think she would have had a foundation, a logic that would have stitched the sounds together and made it more organic and flowing.
I have done everything you've asked of me.
Fake Russian accent.
Alison Brie, Glow.
You love to hate me! Russia is supreme world leader!
So what's great about this is it's a comedy accent that knows in the framework of the story that it's a comedy accent.
Okay.
It's based on this, of course.
If I choose to go for the American title, of course I will win it.
But I think Alison Brie just turns up the notch even one level more.
No one can defeat Zoya!
I love the way she has that palatalized vowel sound in capitalism.
Capitalism!
Kind of like John Malkovich had in Kjol in Rounders, which we talked about way back in episode 1.
Like cool.
Missouri Ozarks accent.
Sam Rockwell, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
I asked the judge not to give her bail on account of her previous marijuana violations, and the judge said, sure.
Sam Rockwell worked from a single real-life model for this accent, a police chief, I think, in a town in southern Missouri.
It was a cool experience, but I couldn't believe that it was happening.
I think it really shows. It's such specific and detailed work.
I'm sure of that.
Let's just pull out 2 specific vowel sounds. One of them is what we can call the goat vowel, and the other is the mouth vowel. We'll hear the first one in the word no here.
No!
And that mouth vowel in station house.
Station house.
Both of these sounds are diphthongs. They glide from one sound to the other.
No!
And they're really wide diphthongs, wider than in my accent, for instance. So instead of O in no, we get a starting point that's lower in the mouth. O.
No! No!
A similar thing happens with the ow sound in house.
House. Station house.
Instead of a relatively constrained ow, we get ow.
House.
I love it when patterns show up like that.
No!
Texas accent.
Jeff Bridges, Hell or High Water.
They're trying to raise a certain amount, that's my guess. It's going to take a few banks to get there.
Pop quiz. What do Texas accents and South Asian accents have in common?
Oh, well,
Give up?
help me understand that.
The answer is retroflexion, or the tongue tip curling back.
Does require, I think, greater consideration.
You can hear that retroflex, very tongue-tippy D sound here in How Did You Do It?
How did you do it?
It's making contact there. Duh.
Do it.
Does.
Note to linguists, it's not actually a retroflex consonant here, it's post-alveolar, but the tongue tip is curling back in that direction.
Now we're getting somewhere.
That inflection, too, is just pure West Texas.
Oh, that was a good one. You'll get the hang of this yet.
Vietnamese accent.
Hong Chow, downsizing.
They do for me, I pay them good. No problem, I go.
So some people thought this accent was an offensive stereotype.
Feel so guilty.
The actress is actually from a Vietnamese background.
This was a very personal role for me. My parents are Vietnamese refugees.
And she based this on real people that she knew, relatives and people she grew up around.
Nice people.
Vietnamese has some of my favorite consonant sounds in all languages.
Thank you.
They're called voiced implosives, and they're these sounds where the larynx actually moves down on the consonant sound. You can hear that here in Big Box.
You go find the big box.
If you have a pronounced Vietnamese accent, that way of forming those consonant sounds will find its way into your English.
Me?
So that's right.
So happy.
American accent.
Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out.
They were asking me about the African-American experience. Maybe you could take this one.
This is just so good. There's nothing not to like in this accent. I think it's a great performance.
I agree, yeah.
Let's just focus on one individual word. Listen to the way he pronounces the word good here.
Good.
And let's compare this to the same vowel sound in this episode of Black Mirror in Kaluuya's own native accent.
Good.
So the vowel sound itself is a little different. The arch of the tongue is in a different place of the mouth. It's further back. The lips are in a different shape. But another thing that's really neat is the way he leans into the vowel.
How?
American accents generally tend to be a little more vowel-centric. The vowel length is kind of flexible.
I see that.
As opposed to the more kind of staccato, slightly less vowel-centric rhythm of Kaluuya's native accent and most British English accents generally.
It's perfect. Thanks.
Texas accent.
Michael Caine on Deadly Ground.
So tell me more about the fire. What exactly did we lose?
That just sounds like Michael Caine to me.
I don't need that kind of problem right now.
I don't hear any evidence of an attempt at an accent, which is an interesting choice.
I don't give a shit!
There is an interesting overlap between a Cockney accent and a Texas accent, which is in that mouth vowel. For both accents, it starts from an ah kind of higher place and goes ow. You can hear that in the word now.
Now you know why I love this woman.
It's Michael Caine's own vowel, but it works for Texas.
Now you know.
But one accidentally overlapping vowel sound does not an accent make.
Get out!
Kentucky accent.
Andrew Lincoln, The Walking Dead.
We made a lot of noise. We want to wrap this up quick.
This is such a fantastic accent.
Me?
And so much is right.
You mean me?
So I'm gonna be picky.
No!
There's a pretty universal Southern accent feature, which is called the pin-pen merger, where we have the words pin and pan or other similar words come to sound the same or almost the same, pin and pan. And he actually does not have that going on in one word here, which is the word ten, which should sound more like tin.
Give me 10 seconds.
But it's really great work overall.
I'm grateful.
Italian accent.
Penelope Cruz, The Assassination of Gianni Versace.
As you know, my brother, who I love very much,
is dead.
As a non-native speaker, to do a different accent in a second language, that's hard.
How so?
She's really lowered her register. It's so much lower in this performance than in her natural voice.
I am playing Donatella, and everybody knows the way she speaks, and it's a very unique, very particular way of speaking.
Every rumor, every indiscretion, it's very, very hard for me. Very hard for me, for my family, for my children. They're just the killer, yes, but they're just the victim too.
She's really effectively shifted over her stress and inflection from a Spanish pattern to an Italian one. Listen to this here.
He was a creator. He was a collector. He was a genius.
Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. As opposed to this.
It was almost like she was also their psychologist.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Their psychologist.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
I'm worried, Gianni. Our shows were the future ones. Gianni was more than a brother, we're always together.
Hey, Australia. It's been noted that we haven't given you a lot of love. We haven't done any Aussie accents before, so here are a few. Australian accent, Dev Patel, Lion.
Do you have any idea what it's like knowing my real brother and mother spent every day of their lives looking for me?
He has some very broad versions of the price vowel. You can hear in words like
what it's like,
and lives.
And
at the same time, he does not have a very pronounced Australian version of the A diphthong in face. You can hear that in name. And pain. And it's actually very narrow. The diphthong doesn't move very far. And I'm not sure you can find that narrow name and that broad price in the same Australian accent.
Makes me sick.
But the accent is right in a lot of particulars. It is completely integrated and owned. He is acting through it. And ultimately, that's the most important thing.
I bet you never imagined it being this hard.
Australian accent.
Kate McKinnon, Rough Night.
You don't have a calzone.
She does something really skillful and on point.
I'll take it.
With those goat diphthongs in don't and calzone.
Calzone.
They're really interesting in Australian English. They have a totally different movement.
Do you have Swiss chard?
And there's a little pharyngeal squeeze, a squeeze in the throat. She's actually got that. That's a really subtle thing.
Is this a practical joke?
Not everything is quite that good.
I'm good. I'm really good.
There's an R there that shouldn't be there at the end of the word where in Where Are We?
Where are we?
It might be there if you ran the word straight through, but she takes a pause afterwards, so there shouldn't be an R there in where.
Where are we?
It's also very careful. I feel like she's conscious of it the whole time. It's not really an owned accent.
You're sort of kidding me, right?
Antipodes accent. Elizabeth Moss, Top of the Lake.
Detective Sergeant, this is inappropriate.
This character grew up in New Zealand. She moved to Australia. Maybe her accent's supposed to be a little bit of a hybrid. Either way, this sounds really American in name and case.
How do you know the case name?
As opposed to a much broader nine.
Name.
Case. Which would be a lot of movement in the diphthong.
Something like that.
Australian accents, and even more so New Zealand accents, are famous for what linguists call high-rising terminal, more commonly known as question intonation, which is the voice rising at the end of what might just be a statement, something like, I like pie.
How do you know the case name? And how do you know the girl?
What's curious here is not just that Elizabeth Moss is using American sort of standard falling inflections on these, but that these are two questions where you might really expect to have that intonation.
Australian accent.
Zac Efron, Mike and Dave need wedding dates.
Name's Rick, just got in from Melbourne.
So we talked about the phenomenon of goose fronting before. That's where the vowel in words like goose, through, to is made with the arch of the tongue a little further forward in the mouth. Ooh. Zac Efron's not doing that here in the word do, it's way far back.
Well, yes, I do.
He's kind of supposed to be doing a bad accent. He gets found out right away.
I know that's your brother. He dated my niece. Look, mate, I don't know your niece.
So does it matter that he didn't get that goose fronting in the word do? I think it's probably better that he didn't.
It was the hat, right? Was it the hat? I just found this over there.
Australian accent.
Kate Winslet, the dressmaker.
I can make you the most striking girl in the room.
This one's perfect.
Why are you so interested in what I do all of a sudden?
Let's focus on something that's amazing. It's a teeny tiny little detail of the oral posture. Have a look at her lip corners here, especially on the word dance.
I hear the footballers dance. It's Saturday night.
See how they're kind of turning down?
Dance. The footballers dance.
There's a muscle here called the depressor anguli oris, which is responsible for pulling those lip corners down. She's activating those. It's not something she normally does, and it's just right for the accent.
Watch and learn.
California accent.
Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies.
This is... he's a wonderful father. I mean, he's the best. I couldn't think of a better one, really.
So I'm going to pick on something here.
No!
If we listen to the word best...
Best, the best.
This is her Australian accent creeping through.
Really?
Her tongue is a little bit arched, a little bit high. Best.
Best.
Instead of best, which is what would fit better with the rest of the target accent.
The best.
Listen here to the word goddess.
He treats me like a goddess.
She kind of evenly stresses it, goddess.
Goddess.
Which is an Australian English pronunciation as opposed to the American goddess. But it's also the vowel in that first syllable where she's got a little bit of lip rounding. We get goddess.
Goddess.
Which again is her Australian accent as opposed to the unrounded goddess version of American.
Oh, stop it.
So this is an incredible performance.
You sure about this?
So why am I being so picky? Just to point out that this is really hard and it takes time. If it's not completely second nature, it can slip when the actor is having to focus on other things.
I don't know where this is coming from. I really don't.
Boston accent.
Benedict Cumberbatch, Black Mass.
You ought to come over to dinner sometime. Mary and the kids would love to see you.
We talked a little bit about Johnny Depp's performance as Whitey Bulger in episode 3.
Johnny Depp, Whitey Bulger.
So it's not just a Boston accent, it's an idiolect.
I haven't forgotten where we came from.
Notice his oral posture here. There's a lip corner retraction and a jaw protrusion, both of which you can see in the real Billy Bulger.
My mother, she's born in Charlestown, my father in the North End.
So that jaw is high as well, so we have kind of a compressed space there. It's almost shaped like a dinner plate inside the mouth.
You know what, John? It's good to see you doing so well.
You can see him listening and breathing through that same shape and space and configuration. So when he speaks again...
Give my regards to the boys at the plaza.
It's there. It's all ready to go. He stays in it.
Boston accent.
Lucas Hedges, Manchester by the Sea.
And what a delightful Boston neighborhood have you selected for us to live in.
This is wonderful work.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love the tight, pulled-in lips, pulled in against the teeth.
You could do that anywhere.
We talked about price smoothing in Kentucky accents and Texas accents. Here's something that doesn't get talked about much in Boston accents, which is mouth smoothing.
What?
So instead of an ow diphthong, it kind of starts in that ah place and really stays there. Listen to that here in town and now.
There's plenty of toilets and clogged up drains all over town. I gotta maintain our boat now.
What's great too is because these are open vowels near the front of the mouth, you can actually see that shape in his tongue.
Now.
Where it starts and stays.
American accent.
Matthew Rhys, The Americans.
Do not roll your eyes at me. You can show me some respect.
There's a handful of little words that show up all the time. Was and what and of and from. What a lot of British actors will do is they'll use the American version of the British vowel sound in those words and say was and what.
Are you kidding me?
A lot of the time I think when we hear an accent from a British actor that kind of is almost perfect, but something sticks out, it's one of these words. Matthew Rhys gets all of them right. Listen to what and was in this clip.
What is with you? My life was the joke.
So you never hear him slip up on these words.
What are you doing?
Philip's American accent is a rhotic accent, meaning all the R's are there, even in unstressed syllables and after a vowel.
I know.
Every so often, Matthew Rhys's native accent comes through and he actually leaves one of those R sounds out.
No.
Like in the name Kimberly here.
Kimberly.
It's a tiny little thing, but I think it makes a difference.
I'm done with that now. I have been for a long time.
Texas accent.
Brendan Fraser, Trust.
You'd think that being rich would be a breeze.
I think we can tell where in Texas this character is from, and I think it's East Texas. Austin, Corpus Christi.
What makes you so sure?
It's because of what we call the price vowel, the vowel in words like life and right and time.
Life, right, time.
In my accent, that vowel sound is a diphthong. It moves, it travels. Life. In a lot of the South and in West and Central Texas, that vowel gets completely smoothed out so that it's not a diphthong anymore, but just a long sound. Laugh, right, time. East Texas has this on some price vowels, but not others.
Is that right?
And he does it just right.
Well, thank you very much.
So it stays a diphthong in life.
Life.
And right.
Right.
But it's smoothed out in kind. Which is exactly right. Isn't that cool?
I'll buy that.
English Cockney accent.
Dick Van Dyke, Mary Poppins.
All right, ladies and gents,
comical point.
This might be the most famous, picked on, bad movie accent ever.
Well, not Royal Academy, I suppose.
I don't know what I have to add. Let me just say that I think Dick Van Dyke's jaw was born to do a Cockney accent.
Still a bit on a finger in the eye, ain't they?
It's low, very prominent and protruded.
Mary Poppins!
And maybe there was an opportunity there if he'd gone with his jaw to get closer to a real Streets of London Cockney accent.
Now how does that sound?
Wakanda accent.
Letitia Wright, Black Panther.
This corset is really uncomfortable. So could we all just wrap it up and go home?
Wakanda isn't a real place, of course. The accent that Letitia Wright is doing here is actually isiXhosa, which is a South African language and accent. John Connie originated the role of T'Chaka, T'Challa's father, in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I am grateful to the Avengers for supporting this initiative.
And he is an isiXhosa speaker, so that just became the language of Wakanda. In any case, Letitia Wright is doing an amazing job of it.
Just because something works doesn't mean that it cannot be improved.
Queen's accent.
Tom Holland, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, and with pickles, and can you smush it down real flat? Thanks.
This is really good.
Thanks.
All the way through, top to bottom.
I'm actually an actor, I'm British, and I'm playing Spider-Man.
He's doing something which is specific to a lot of younger Americans.
What?
The vowel sound in the ing endings of words like joking.
I'm joking, I'm joking.
The way this accent usually gets taught to non-Americans is with more of an I sound, as in the word kit. And he's doing more of an E sound, as in the word fleece, so joking.
Joking, I'm joking.
And that's something you hear from lots and lots of younger Americans, so it's totally appropriate for the character.
This is great.
Southern Irish accent.
Joe Gilgun in Preacher.
Don't snap at me. You've not cornered the market on being pissed off, all right?
Southern Irish accents, when they get really expressive, tend to have a very high fall. That's the pitch contour. Listen to him here on "There's no way."
There's no way.
It's really free and expressive.
What in the shite is that supposed to mean?
I just also want to give a shout out to Ruth Nega in this, who's doing an amazing job. She's actually from Ethiopia, but raised in Limerick, Ireland.
Cassidy, I know what you want.
One of the things that's cool is that the trap vowel, which is the vowel in words like asking and that, is a little higher. So the arch of the tongue, it's arched up a little bit. So and you can hear that here in "Stop Asking Me That."
Stop asking me that?
This is a really great Southern American accent.
I know.
Southern Irish accent.
Gerard Butler, P.S. I Love You.
Jesus, that's a long walk. That's a bad joke.
Gerard Butler apologized to the nation of Ireland for getting their accent very wrong.
Well, good luck with that.
Southern Irish accents, the strut vowel, the vowel sound in words like come
on,
mother. If you click into that sound, don, mother, son, you're going to get some crucial information about the whole posture for the accent, and if you don't get it, you're probably going to really struggle, and he does.
Are we finished now, love?
Belfast accent.
Daniel Day-Lewis in The Name of the Father.
Why do you always follow me when I do something wrong? Why can't you follow me when I do something right?
I think this is one of the best movie accents ever. Let's just talk about one diphthong, which is the mouth diphthong. You can hear it in the word house.
The only fucking metal that was ever in our house.
So in American English, the tongue starts down in the front, and moves up in the back, ooh, ow, house. Belfast English has almost the exact opposite pattern. It starts in the back of the mouth, and moves up to sort of an arch in the middle, ooh, house.
House?
It's also just a great sound.
Honest to God, I was happy. I was delighted.
So there is an American English diphthong that is similar to this. Say the word ice. Now put an H in front of that, heis. It's not exactly the same as heis, but it's not a world away. It'll get you in the neighborhood.
I don't understand your language.
Scottish accent.
Christopher Lambert, Highlander.
I was born in 1518 in the village of Glenfinnan on the shores of Loch Shiel.
Did he try?
Not much.
I'm not sure. There is one tapped R you can hear in the word immortal.
I am immortal.
The funny thing is you wouldn't necessarily need to do that in a Scottish accent.
You talk funny, Nash. Where are you from? Lots of different places.
Conclusion.
The final thought I want to leave you with is, again, this is hard. Speech is really complex. It's about the most complex thing we do physically as human beings, and it's kind of what makes us who we are. So if I'm being really picky on occasion, or even splitting hairs, it's because I think this is incredibly important stuff, and because I think we can always be better.